Good morning to you all, and greetings from NATO headquarters in Brussels. I am Marie-Doha Besancenot. I'm the Assistant Secretary General for Public Diplomacy here at NATO. I'm very pleased to welcome you to the William & Mary Global Innovation and NATO Countering Disinformation Challenge. This is our third edition together, and this will keep us busy the entire day. It is very inspiring to see hundreds of undergrads, students across NATO and partner nations applying their brainpower to the task of countering disinformation, very dear to our hearts. NATO is proud to be supporting this challenge for another year in a row. Your ideas and your proposals are both inspiring and useful for our work. Disinformation and information manipulation is a new challenge. It may not always feel like it because it's such a prominent topic now, but in reality, the recorded history of disinformation wars dates back to ancient Rome. Today, hostile information campaigns heavily undermine our security environment. They are exploited by different actors for geopolitical gains. This year, in 2024, the Global Risk Report from the World Economic Forum identified disinformation and misinformation as the top global risks for the next 2 years. It is estimated that the threat can cost organizations over $78 billion a year in economic damages if left unchecked. It is a national security threat, it is a collective defense issue, it is a resilience issue, and it is, of course, a societal issue that needs to be addressed through a whole-of-society approach. Prioritizing our responses to this threat is really crucial in order to protect our audiences, our publics, our voters, our citizens. NATO is a primary target for disinformation. Hostile narratives on the alliance have been around for decades. But with Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, it has become more prominent than ever. To share a few key examples, we are hearing that NATO is directly at war with Russia. We are hearing that we're planning secret exercises and operations, that NATO is a threat to Russia, that we are even orchestrating natural disasters recently. There are so many claims out there that it would take me hours to go through all of them. And of course, our role is not to respond to all of them. But in the face of these campaigns, we cannot remain idle, and we are not. Our allies have really consolidated a political response to information threats during our last NATO summits. In the last one last summer, in the Washington summit, allied leaders agreed that we will continue to develop our individual and collective capacity to analyze and counter hostile information and misinformation operations, and that in doing so, NATO is closely coordinating with allies and also partners. We have taken a number of steps to address that, including increasing our alert mechanism and sharing mechanisms between allies and partners, and strengthening our joint response, in particular in strategic communications. And this notion of collective response will be very prominent this year again. So what do? We track, we monitor, we analyze disinformation using AI-enabled tools, trackers. They track 110 million websites simultaneously. They track all of Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, and more. Fringe channels also. We have created a task force, which is led by our division, Public Diplomacy Division, to operationalize our response options according to the threats that we analyzed. And all this contributes to NATO's situational awareness. Digitally, this year, NATO has also expanded its social media presence in Russian, growing the channels which are called NATO по-русски or NATO in Russian. We also have had a Setting the Record Straight portal on the NATO website, which is a repository of the most dominant Russian claims, countered with facts, factual information, if you're looking for that. In addition to that, we proactively conduct campaigns, tailored campaigns, in vulnerable allied and partner countries. And for that, we work with think tanks, with universities. We have grants program supporting communities and civil society actors who are also working in this direction. One project that is very interesting, we engage with independent Russian and Belarusian media, independent journalists in exile. Our press program tour allowed journalists to have primary access to NATO, So the key events like the exercises, but also the ministerials, different initiatives, they are invited to meet and talk to our officials and then share their story, their experience of NATO as they have experienced it themselves. So it's very clear that NATO cannot act alone. No one can act alone in this fight. This is why we regularly coordinate our activities with our key international partners. And that begins with the G7, which created their alert mechanism already at the end of 2018. This includes the EU, who also has a rapid response mechanism, but also the UN, also the OECD, the OSCE, and other key international partners. So, the William and Mary Global Innovation and NATO Countering Disinformation Challenge is, for us, a prime example of our engagement with academia and with youth. This challenge could not be taking place at a better time for the Alliance and for this tough challenge that we're facing, nor could the policy areas selected be more relevant, ranging from Russia's war in Ukraine to human rights, clean energy. All these topics clearly showcase the broad range of areas affected by disinformation and information campaigns. These topics also demonstrate that disinformation can and does affect each of us individually and personally. Disinformation is made most of the time to instill fear, to undermine trust in institutions, to create chaos, and to push us to be disengaged. No matter whether you have come across Russian disinformation about Ukraine or whether you have heard President Biden himself calling out misinformation related to US storm response, I'm confident that you know how very damaging those campaigns, those attacks can be. Disinformation actors have been very creative, resourceful. They've been adapting to our responses also. But so are we, creative and resourceful. And I think this student challenge is a great evidence of this. This challenge demonstrates the importance of student-led innovation and supporting the next generation of leadership in countering disinformation. So we are very keen to hear your pitches and your ideas. I'm very confident that they will serve as a source for inspiration for me, for my teams, for our community fighting disinformation, and who knows, maybe we will implement some of your solutions in our daily work. So, dear participants, students, academics, NATO exists to protect 1 billion citizens across 32 nations. And today you have a really excellent opportunity to contribute to our core business, and I'm confident you will do an excellent job. With that, I wish you all the best of luck, and I cannot wait to hear from you.